Morning, everyone. Welcome back to the second panel discussion. So there is a very interesting subject around digital adoption. As all of you know, in the morning we spoke about innovation, how to build innovative products. So we're now talking about digital adoption and how banks can leverage fintech collaborations. So may I first welcome my first panelist, a very, very well-read IMD and Harvard graduate, and 21 years plus experience across banking. May I welcome Mr. Mujahid Jarjali, the General Manager for IT and Operations. My second panelist, again, has built one of the first Islamic bank technology in the country and comes with 20 years plus experience with doing interesting innovations and is live engaged right now with multiple fintech innovation. May I welcome Khalid Al-Hoqani, the head of IT of Alizz Islamic Bank. My third panelist is a very, very different personality. Normally we talk about bankers, technologists, technology heads, applications head. He is head of a business and very, very interesting, difficult business as we call in B2B, SME business, and has taken the innovation baton forward. So may I welcome Hassan Lawati from Ahli Bank. And last but not the least, let's also get a fintech and somebody who sold these partner solutions into the banks. Very, very experienced, 20 years into the region, and very few people may know also that he's also from Muscat and he's lived in Muscat for a long time. Rizwan from Expleo. So very, very warm welcome, gentlemen. Thanks for joining me. So very interesting subject, digital adoption. As all of you know, it's always a fear in mind that if I build a digital product or a different experience, will customer adopt? And what if I fail? And that's where the digital adoption is a crux to success of any products. And we are in a very, very exciting times over last 3 to 4 years, significant amount of startup. Maya spoke about 80,000 startups only in India. And across the world, there's a huge amount of fintechs around. So Mujahid, my first question is to you. When we say digital, right, what does actually digital mean today and in years to come from an adoption perspective?
Thank you, Chetan, for giving me this opportunity to participate in this panel discussion. Before I answer this question, the digital adoption, I guess let's go back a bit and see the history, how it started, the journey started. If you see, Parekh was talking about the ATM machine also. So before the ATM machine in 1950s, when the plastic cards were introduced, I guess Diners Club introduced the first plastic card. We moved from the physical note to the plastic card. And then in 1965, if I remember it correctly, Barclays came up with the first ATM machine. And then you see the journey how it was going. And then in 80s, internet era started. And then the whole journey got accelerated, let's say, in 2008 when the touch screens were introduced, the mobile phones. And then in 2009, the digital currencies came. So with these two major innovative solutions or products when they came in the market, then we saw the payment solutions, the wallets, and now we are in the era of Web 3.0, which is the decentralization, where instead of Google or Facebook controlling the entire internet, now it's going to be controlled by us. It is like a DAO concept, decentralized autonomous organization, which is nothing but a group of people agreeing on certain aspects, and we move on. So I think before adoption is the team they were talking in the first panel discussion, the awareness part is very important. There are 3 A's: awareness, acceptance, and adoption. So if the awareness is there in the mindset of the customers or in the mindset of the organization, then the acceptance and adoption becomes easy. Now what's happening is Gen Zs are there and then millennials are there. The lifestyle started changing. The lifestyle of our ancestors was different, but now they have different needs and demands. So now organizations, they need to innovate in order to cater and address these demands which are coming from the Gen Zs. Nowadays, I mean, my own son, when he was telling me which is the fastest or which is the bank whereby I can open my account fully using my mobile app, I told him Bank Nizwa is the only bank which can, being biased now, Bank Nizwa is the only bank whereby you can open your account using your app, and your ATM card, you can get your ATM card at your doorstep. So there are now, I mean, these, the Gen Zs, they are not anymore going to wait in the branch or be in the queue. They want everything at the tip of their finger. So banking is moving towards anywhere, anytime. It's not anymore at the physical branch.
Very, very interesting. And again, when you see Gen Z and millennials from a customer expectation perspective, do you see a huge difference? Because traditionally people always say, no, UK is a different market, UAE is a different market, Oman, we have a different culture. So when you look at an Omani customer and his expectation from digital products, would you see any different from what globally products are getting consumed?
No, I actually have a lot of friends from across the globe, from India, from Europe, from even America. When I talk to them about Roblox, they also say our kids, they use Roblox. When you talk about Instagram or WhatsApp, their grannies are using it, our grannies are using it. My grandmother, she's using WhatsApp. So everywhere it is, it's not any more different. It's just some markets, like Maya was talking about India's market, maybe the regulations or the framework, government framework, India came up with moving from cash to cashless economy, or there are places where a lot of unbanked customers are there, where they want the wallets. They launched UPI services. It was heavily accepted, and still we are yet to see this acceptance at Oman. So always they say necessity is the mother of all inventions. So if there is a necessity, I'm sure the expectations are going to be addressed.
Excellent. So in summary, it's the same digital which globally is successful. It's coming to Oman. We can very clearly say that Omanis would adopt. So the opportunity is wide open for banks to bring in. Moving, Khalid, to you. Again, you started the whole new Islamic banking, 8-9 years bank in Oman, and selected an innovative technology towards it. Because I think the first time in Oman where you went end-to-end within the same product. So how do you see when it comes to digital adoption and FinTechs, how do you see adoption at the bank?
Okay, so first, let me first vouch for my friend here, Mujahid, on the customer experience that they've launched on the onboarding. I'm one of the customers that have tried it, and I have to say it is a very pleasant experience. I have to say that, and it's pleasant because they did not think of the technology. They thought about the whole experience, and that's very important when you're launching these kind of services to your customers. So it's not only about the digital onboarding was very pleasant and very very smooth and very easy, but the fact that I did not have to visit a branch at all. I got my debit card delivered to me in a very, actually when I did it, it was Eid holidays. And I got it, I think the second day after the working again. So I enjoyed the whole experience, and that's very important when you create a solution for your customer. You don't think about the technology, you think about the experience and how you're going to offer it to your customer. So I really have to praise my friend here, Mujahid, and his team for creating a beautiful experience around that particular service, which is the customer onboarding, which is not offered by many other banks. So that's very important. And the second question, if you allow me to comment also on if the Oman public are different than the UK, and I'll just share some a personal experience. My son, I took him to study the UK a few months back, and he was initially trying to open. I was trying to convince him actually to open an account in one of the dinosaur banks. I cannot mention their name because they operate in Oman as well. So he was trying, and the funny thing is that bank was advertising the student account heavily. So everywhere you go, student account, student account, student account. I said, okay, you open it here because it's also gonna make it easy for you because you have an account and it's easy in Oman and all that stuff. So we went there, and the experience was not pleasant at all. You say you have to go online, and it's gonna take like 10 days to open your account and all that stuff. And then, a few minutes later, my son himself, he came to me and he said, listen, I've opened an account. I said, where? He said, Revolut. And I said, what? He said, you didn't need my help? He said, no, I did it myself. No. So he never opened an account in Oman. And he never, he just finished his high school. He's not a banker. He's not someone who, knows how to do these things. And he did not even ask for my consultation, being a banker myself. He went and did it himself. And then he told me, listen, I have my account. It's open. And I have my virtual card. It's loaded in my Apple Pay. Now I can start, using it. And I said, how are you going to get money there? And we said, okay, how are we going to get money? And, I just had to actually literally, through a payment gateway, I had to transfer money from my own bank account in Oman. And it was so easy, and it was so pleasant, and I was just so shocked on how easy is it that these people, thought about the whole customer experience where a young kid can go and onboard themselves into a bank and start using the services. Not only that, the beautiful thing about the way they thought about it is kind of like a Spotify. If you've, opened a Spotify account, they always, from the beginning, they try to understand what is your need. Okay, why are you, opening this Spotify account? So they kind of ask you certain questions to understand your taste. What is your taste, of music, and then they personalize that experience to you. So that personalization of experience keeps improving as you start, using that Spotify app. They understand your behavior, your preference, and they start offering you, that personalized experience. Revolut does the same thing. So when you're opening your account, they actually try to understand for you, why are you onboarding your customers? See, customers don't open an account in a bank because they enjoy opening accounts in a bank. There's a reason for it. There's a financial need that they need to satisfy. These financial needs differ, right, from customer to customer. And as a bank, you need to understand those financial needs. And Revolut has done it very well, where they understood what is the reason why is it for transactional banking? Is it saving? Is it investment? So they have, all kind of investments there and all that stuff. So that kind of experience is what we, as banks, we should seek to offer to our customers. And I think the user experience, from my own experience in Al-Aziz Islamic Bank, the user experience is key to digital transformation. It's not an afterthought. If you are not think of it from the user experience, then we work backwards towards the technology. If you think about it as a technology project, then you fail in providing that, the digital transformation that you're hoping for. And in our experience as Al-Aziz Bank, when we launched the bank about 9 years back, we did launch it with a mobile app, an internet banking app. It was it had all the features that you would think of a mobile and internet banking app. But the customer adoption was horrible. We tried to advertise, so you try to do the marketing, you try to do all that stuff, doesn't work. The customers don't like it, and they rated us very badly in the app stores. They said, you have one of the most horrible apps in the market, and so we had to listen to them. Customers cannot be wrong. So we then rethought about it from the other perspective. We said, okay, we should start from the customer experience and walk backwards toward the technology. And that's how we redesigned the whole mobile and internet banking app, where we actually did not even think about how we're going to implement it from a technology bit. We started from the UI UX, how the customer is going to interact, how we're going to offer him the most frictionless experience when he is using the mobile app or the internet banking app. And that was a very, that took us a lot of effort and time before we even started thinking about the actual, how we're going to implement it from a technology perspective. And it worked. The moment we launched it, the customer adoption just shot up, very, very high. And recently, last year, I think we were rated the highest rated app in the app stores, the combined app stores, the Android and Apple. And so, and the funny thing is that if you look at the features that we launched 9 years ago and the features that we have today is, almost more or less kind of the same, maybe some enhancement here and there. But the adoption rate has been just staggering, just from the improving on the user experience. And that's very, very, that's a learning for us, and that's very important for us to really understand when we go forward with the digital transformation, that the digital experience is center and front of your digital experience when you launch these digital experiences.
Very, very interesting, Khalid. So clearly some of the agile principles I could see: fail fast, think customer in center and customer experience. And the user experience makes all the difference in the way digital products are getting adopted. So moving to Hassan, again, we heard retail story, customer experience story. You are again in a very different business, which everybody believed corporate business cannot be done except through RMs. And you have led a different thought process. So when you look at the corporate business and customer adoption for digital, how does you and Ahli Bank see this?
First of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity, and I would like to thank the fine gentlemen who have taken time from their precious schedules and attended this to hear us out. As you rightfully said, corporate banking has always been about relationship. If you put the face in front of the customer, then you will be able to lock in a deal. If you put a machine in front of a customer, the chances of locking in a deal will minimize to almost zero. But as the fine gentlemen have commented, it's all about customer experience when it comes to how to make the customer journey easy and when it comes to corporate banking. Certain things always will remain that the human element have to interfere in solving it. But I would say the journey before and after that, it can be digitalized quite easy and can improve the customer experience overall. And using this forum, indeed, I would say that if it was any other forum, I wouldn't say that. Banks is all about money. We're a money melting machine. So I wouldn't say that if the forum was different, but it's all about even if you use if the digital, any adoption of any digital have to add to the cost effectiveness, have to improve quality, and have to give better customer service. If all these three elements can be applied in any digital adoption, then yes, you will have a successful product to give it to everybody, all the stakeholders, including customer. I would say the process of getting the approvals moving on in the system has always been a problem with the human error kind of thing. When you lose documents, people are missing, filing wrong information. But with finding a digital process where you can have the process going smoothly in that part of the process, it would add a lot. In fact, we and Ahli Bank are currently working on that, and it's a state-of-art thing. We have seen the first sight of it. It's something where you can get the approvals within 3 days So it's something we're working on it, but I'm really excited to do that. In terms of in terms of filing itself and ability to extract documents when, where, and whenever you want, we try to minimize the human intervention in that, where you can the person can himself access the files and dig out whatever information you want, instead of waiting for somebody to go down to the godowns and pick up the documents. These kind of services, or these kinds of digital adoption, although they're not quite visible to the customer, but it will add to the overall experience. When you're able to provide the customer service they are looking for and able to compare the services to other banks, yes, if we apply all of these, although the direct effectiveness of it would not be there to see for the customer to see, but definitely on the long run he would definitely feel that. And I cannot say any more other than the fine gentlemen have said about the customer experience, digital adoption in terms of the services facing the customer, the trade finance, the global trade services, the account openings, the corporate account openings, and all of these has to be digitalized to improve the overall customer service.
So excellent. So you're saying at corporate, again, it's not very different, though it may not be as visible as retail from a customer experience perspective, but lesser documents. We spoke earlier about being less, being more. So it's very, very interesting, Hassan. Thanks.
Lesser documents, faster turnaround time. That's what the customer is looking.
Yeah. So it's very, very simple, keeping it simple. Rizwan, looking at, again, this from a very different lens, you as a service provider in FinTech always are challenged that prove that this is worth the money and the effort which bank has to do, but more importantly, return on investments on what you are trying to propose. So when you look at digital adoption and banks ask you to prove before doing the project on a digital adoption or a quality assurance, how is the view this is viewed at Expleo and yourself?
So thanks, Chetan, for having me here, and thank you everyone for attending us this session as well. Very interesting so far from the esteemed bankers of Oman. I mean, cannot disagree more with them. Like, they're bang on in terms of things. So digital adoption, if I take a step back and go into historical perspective, just the way Mujahid did. When I was born, there was no television. Right, so forget the computers in the world and all that. When the television came, it's only my dad was the remote control. I was not allowed to touch the TV as well. Slowly, of course, TV came. Then when my son was born, the microwave was already there. So he's used to seeing a technology which was for us not there at that point in time. So that was innovation in my time. For him, it is granted. Watching a movie, go to a theater in those days, right? Today, Netflix, Prime, Amazon Prime, everything offers you all the content right in your home television, right? The children are born into it. So the key point is when your next generation, the Generation Z, is already seeing that has already been innovated some time back, right? For them, it is granted. So now we have to imagine what is their innovation going to be, right? The second key point here, the children today or the youngsters today are not afraid of technology. We were, or if we were not, we used to be made sure that you better be afraid. One slap from your father and that's it. You can't touch the TV. Okay. So that's what the reality we lived in. When I was studying engineering, I've seen the computer itself evolve. First year of engineering, x86. Second year of engineering, 286. Processor, I mean, right? The third year of engineering, 386 was invented. So that was yearly innovation. Fourth year, it was 586. But the moment I passed off engineering, Pentium 1 came. Now we are looking at Pentium 5, whatever, like Pentium 7 and 9 is coming in with the higher processing power, higher speed. So the point here is technology has been made available for digital adoption. And this technology is converging right down to your hands. In those days, we had huge computers. And I don't know how many of you have seen the big floppy drives, the 5.5-inch floppy drive. Have you ever seen? That used to be only 16 KB of data space. And they had huge machines, like a huge villa full of machines just processing one single process. Today, that entire thing is converted into a laptop, and laptop can do much more better than that, right? So the case in point is your youngsters are smarter, and I think the couple of points from Mujahid and Khalid both, they don't use WhatsApp these days, youngsters. They use different mechanism. They use Snapchat, they use, which I'm not aware. Because I wanted to talk to some of my nieces and nephews and they are not there on WhatsApp. They won't respond. Then I have to go to their level. I have to adopt first. When I came out of India back to Dubai first time, or Oman as the first time, so she had no way to means of communicating but with chatting. So she had to first learn computer, second learn how to log in into the chat messenger, which was Hotmail those days, Messenger, MSN. And the third was how to type and chat. So that was a need created for her because she wanted to communicate with me and she had no other option but to adopt to technology. So that's how I define technology adoption. Right? Today, youngsters are extremely well versed with the technology than we are. I definitely put myself much below them because they are faster, they're better, their understanding capability is very good, they have adopted much better. Now, coming to different regions that I've seen, it's unfair to compare. You can't compare the West with the East or the Middle East, right? It's really unfair. Each region has its own nuances. They all have their own curves when they come up, right? And with that, having said that, these Middle East is in this journey right now. And as I've seen in technology evolution, adoption is now reduced from decades to years to months and now weeks, I believe, right? We had a good pleasure of working with Emirates NBD when they launched Live 5-6 years back. I believe in the first 2 weeks itself, they had a success of 10,000 downloads on the app. That's how fast it was adopted. So it's become weeks. And as we go forward, it'll be days, I'm sure, and hours maybe, And I think the key point is, all three of them have mentioned the same thing, have an outside-in view rather than inside-out view. That's how you will innovate. You solve, the most important point, empower your customers to choose your service. And that's exactly what will define your digital adoption and going forward.
Very, very interesting perspective. And across markets, I think Oman being unique, I think that's, again, a very interesting aspect. Now, when you look at digital adoption, one key thing comes to our mind is FinTechs. Now, as you all know, banks are risk-driven. Their mindset is to protect and manage and risk-averse, which is a very opposite mindset to what is required for digital innovation. And that's where globally startups or FinTechs driven by younger generation who has ideas and they want to bring a different way of product consumption, right? It's the same CASA or a same loan, but now being offered in a very smarter way. So some of these FinTechs have been around now a little over 3-4 years. Today it's mushroomed to another extent and now it's a bit of a retreat. So at this situation, Mujahid, when you look at Oman, and Oman CBO has been a torchbearer when it comes to putting a sandbox, inviting FinTechs. So when you look at the banks, how do you see banking industry adopting FinTechs? And do you have a recommended model on what banks should do? On how should they partner with FinTechs or choose FinTechs?
See, there are banks, generally what we have heard, there are 3 to 4 kind of strategies or models banks are working. One is the arm length model, which is looking at it internally. If you have an idea or you want to implement that, you look at it internally, see the internal systems, and if you can implement it within that, you go ahead with it. The second one is, my colleague already mentioned, Salman, is about partnership, and we believe in partnership. And third one is buy and build model. I mean, some banks are doing that. They're going through the old way of working, buying it or building it by themselves by having their own customization team. The fourth one is the long tail model, which is the investment model. So these are the 4 models which we have come across, which I could see banks are working on. But we, in Bank Nizwa, we are giving more priority to the partnership model. But if we see like a long tail model is beneficial or it can be materialized, we are open to look at those models also.
So very, very interesting. The models you mentioned and their adoption rates. Now, Oman is again blessed to have a CBO and CBO-driven sandbox, who, as a regulator, has thought through a strategy of validating a set of fintechs with a particular agenda. And now I understand they're coming up with the second avatar with next set of idea around trade and corporate business. So in this kind of a situation, when the banks look at the fintechs, is it there a preference that central bank approved fintechs are preferred, or do you see it's more of an what bank wants to do or what bank's customers are looking for, and then mapping it to what fintechs are available?
Again, we will go back to our customer experience. It all begins from there. And like a couple of initiatives, what we have done is we have worked with one of the fintech companies. I think Alizz also is working with that fintech company, which offers Sharia-based products. None of other conventional banks have worked with, but this is someone who just started the journey, and we have collaborated with that fintech company, and we have done that. At the same time, that does not mean you don't go to CBO. You have to go to CBO, whether the fintech company is approved by CBO or not approved. But once you collaborate, you need to go and show the entire process, the controls what you have while engaging with this fintech company. If CBO is convinced, they will allow you to get engaged.
Excellent. So my next question is to Khalid, to you. Alizz started a lot of first in the market, and especially Oman Arab Bank also, which is part of the group, have been an early adopter of digital, which is always a bold step when it goes to market. So are there any specific learnings out of your experience which people can learn from, or there are some rules which you believe one should follow while selecting their fintechs and ideas?
Okay, so I think, like my friend Mujahid mentioned here, I believe we were one of the first banks to work with fintechs in Oman. A few years back, before the regulator had a framework that would allow that. So we were trying to push it, like this new model, to push to the regulator. And frankly, the only hurdle we had was the regulatory framework. It was not the technology. It was not the willingness between the bank and the fintech to provide something new to the market. We had that, and but we had the regulatory framework was not in place. So that delayed us from launching that service. But it was a lot of learning for us as well. That first venture was a lot of learning where we understood, the kind of opportunity that this opens up when it comes to working with fintechs. It goes, the same platform that Mujahid is talking about. The platform allows customers to be able to avail Islamic financing from the merchants without visiting a branch at all. And normally it takes about 2 days when it comes to auto murabaha or goods murabaha. With this platform, it takes hardly 10 minutes. So that again comes from the experience. So the reason why we went with that fintech was to really, and as an Islamic bank, one of the disadvantages, it's a much more strict process-driven and document-driven. There's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of documents. So that's a problem that our customers face. Compared to the conventional bank, it's a much longer process. It has a lot of documentation. It has a lot of. So the answer is when we want to digitalize this or improve this, is it just going to be a matter of taking the manual process and then the manual documents and then putting them in a digital form, or is it revamping it and working with these fintechs who are coming with a more innovative solution, telling you, listen, we can remove this whole paperwork, we can have this journey in a much more simplified way. You have to think from that perspective. It's not just a matter of putting up a paper-based process and thinking of it as how do I digitalize? No, you need to say how you revamp the whole thing so that it's not even based on paper. The whole thing is not based on paper anymore. And the good thing about it is that banks operate certain hours and certain days. But with these fintechs, what it allowed us is that we're actually operating, as long as the merchants are open. And, that means our business is, being offered to customers even outside banking business hours. So these are what fintechs are, allowing you. So when you look at the fintechs, when you're evaluating fintechs, frankly, we don't have yet a framework to how we evaluate fintechs, but that is definitely something, or how do we choose a fintech? There's not a lot of fintechs today in the market, so it's not like, it's actually, frankly, as banks today in Oman, we are kind of competing to try to hook up with these fintechs. There's, a lot of innovative ideas that are coming, and they might be approaching bank 1, 2, 3, and whichever bank is more willing to, and open to work with them, they will be working with them. And therefore, at this stage, it's really looking at that opportunity and evaluating where does that fit within your whole customer experience. Is that going to add value to your customer? Is it just going to be, just another option to the customer, or is it going to be really revolutionizing the whole customer experience, adding a lot of value to your customers and offering it? So these are the kind of, but also as banks, the risk factor is a very critical factor when it comes to selecting your fintechs. So you need to evaluate that, because you see, finally you are a bank. Okay, you don't want to, there are, especially cybersecurity risks. These are real risks. These are not things we can basically ignore when it comes to working with fintechs. A lot of these fintechs are startups, we understand. They might not have the real understanding of the type of risk that we need to deal with as banks, whether from operational risk or security risk or other types of risk that we are talking about here. So you need to work with these fintechs, and you need to understand their security model. Are they based on a very sound security model, or are they just, some bunch of 2, 3 developers trying to make an impact in the market and launch an app? It's not a game, you're not launching a Fortnite or something. You're launching a banking product, a banking service, and that security has to be center and a critical part of that product launching when you're launching it.
So clearly shows that how do you start one of the first and go through a structured selection process, and something which your customer wants, not just something which creates a novelty value. It's quite interesting insights. Hassan, coming to you, and you've spearheaded a very interesting idea. First time in Oman, crowdfunding. So we'd like to really hear your real life experience and what's the learnings. And of course, it's still in progress, so it'll inshallah becomes very successful. But just wanted to get your personal experience.
Chetan, it was really insightful experience. Being a market leader in crowdfunding, where nobody have launched it in Oman, and bringing in such a decent partner along with it, Beehive, into Oman, and allowing them to work in collaboration with the Ahli Bank. It was really a great experience. The journey started when the Capital Market Authority allowed licensed crowdfunding in Oman in November 2021. We immediately evaluated the available options on the market in the region, and our decision has landed on Beehive to be our partner. And we have started negotiating with them for an almost, if I remember correctly, and the team can also pitch in, it was almost 6 months. We had to go through everything, the legal documents, the processes, the scoring system. So it was really insightful for all of us. The whole team have worked on it. We have launched it in 14th of June 2022, and it's getting the vibes in fact, it's getting more than we expected in the market. And if I may say, we have locked in $1 million in funding so far.
Wow.
So, thank you. And the vibes we're getting from the government and from the people and the customer experience all around it, since we're committing a very short turnaround time, and the way things get moving, and we have in fact challenged ourselves. Everything, the whole process can finish in 2 weeks, in 1 week time in 5 working days, it was really challenging. And we are making it. I think we're making a first in the market, finishing everything in 5 to 6 working days. So yes, it's difficult to maintain. It's easy to do it for 1 deal, 2 deals, but when it comes 50 deals, then it's really a challenge. But the team is up for it, and it's really it's a lifetime experience to do it. Frankly, you don't get every time to be a market leader in a product in Oman, especially with the fine gentlemen competing on every product. So it's to pick up and find something where nobody has done and lead in it. It's something you don't get not everybody can get it.
Oh, it's fantastic and quite a brave experience by yourself and Ali Bank. Rizwan, when you look at the fintech technology, and when clients come across to you, how do you see, what are the typical challenges which Omani banks should prepare for? Because you've seen this across markets in terms of both positives and negatives.
So before I come back to your question, I have a little different perspective. Like Maya in the earlier panel was talking about Gandalf, where D was basically DBS trying to get in there. We were talking about banks saying that we are not bank, we are a technology company providing banking services, whether Sharia compliant products or conventional bank. Now, I have another term called as GAFA, which is basically technology companies with an ambition to become a bank. So the GAFA is basically Google, Apple, Facebook, and Amazon, right? They already have customer base. They already have everything, KYC, everything all done. It's all there. All they have to do is switch to a license. It's as simple as that. And so GAFA is something they need to look at. So basically, you see 2 sides of the story. One side, the aspiration is to become a technology company. The other side, the aspiration is to become a finance company, right? And I'm sure both these organizations will cross paths in some way or the other. Either they collaborate, compete, that remains to be seen. But the challenges, the key challenges is like, I think Khalid has put it very aptly, right? Islamic business is not easy. You're governed by the Sharia board, right? And everything that you're going to launch in the market has to be vetted by the Sharia board. Now, how do you make them understand digital, right? So I'm sure that's a big challenge. And then you have the people like Salman who are like risk people and say, no, this is risky. We can't go forward on this, full stop. And that's the end of the story. So partnership plays a big role. So one of the most important challenge, I think earlier, panelist Mr. Tariq actually talked about very well, that culture and the people are who are going to drive this, right? That's the biggest challenge. The mindset has to change. Yeah. The mindset has to switch from my current way of working to the other way of working. We are all myopic when it comes to innovating or bringing out some technology. We are thinking from our angle, our age group. We are not thinking from the future, right? 20 years later, just imagine your grandchildren or their grandchildren would already have this in place. It'll be taken by them for granted. Yeah.
Very, very interesting thoughts. So last question to the panel, and if you look just one word benefit for banks to adopt FinTechs for the digital adoption, what would be the single benefit you will recommend to your leadership and the board? Any last words?
Okay, I mean, for me, I think it's expanding your. So, if you look at it, you're not just a bank. You're a provider of financial services. So, if someone will help you extend those financial services beyond your current customer base or beyond the segment that you're, banking today, and that FinTech offers you that opportunity to expand it beyond your, your financial services beyond that. So then I think that's an opportunity you should take. Yeah.
So new container, I think, Khalid. That's the new container for the service. Interesting.
Yeah. Right? I would say a new line of income.
New line of income. So it's no more technology. It's still the business line of income.
I would say quality service, more faster turnaround time, and simple.
So unique delivery model and service delivery,
and
which is again earlier Banu spoke about.
Simple English, more money.
So they are the bankers. They will always look at the money. Any last questions?
Chetan, if you don't mind, I can add one more word here. Chetan? maybe taking Khalid's son's example, I would say empowering customer experience, because if you see his son was empowered enough to start his own account without knowing how to open an account. You know,
interesting.
That's an important
Any questions from the members? I can see one hand. Go ahead, please. Just somebody can give the mic.
My name is Vaishal Mehta. I'm the consulting partner for Inspire Enterprises. One of the questions that's coming into my mind when you talk about digital adoption, how much data plays an important role in your decision making, data analytics? I just wanted to know your perspectives.
Interesting. Anyone of you can take it. How much of the data analytics is going in innovation?
I'll have to be honest, we're quite behind in that. When I see banks like Revolut, the way they use AI into giving you a personalized customer experience on the spot, just like a Spotify, but offering financial services. Instead of listening to music, they're personalizing it according to your. Banks like Revolut and others, the neobanks, I'm sure Liv is the same thing, I assume. So. If we are way behind that, so our analytics is not predictive analytics. It's more of like understanding and analyzing the past behavior and then trying to offer the customers, targeting them with the offering. So that's not predictive analytics. That's more of like analyzing the historical and then coming up with decisions. But that's not where we want to go. We want to reach to the level of predictive analytics. Can we predict what the next best buy, or that's the most critical thing. I think that's the key strength of even you mentioned Netflix. Netflix basically overthrew the previous movie rental because of this, because they were able to predict what's the next best thing. That they had algorithms built right into 2002 or 2003 when we did not even know about algorithms. As bankers, we have not heard about algorithms. But
Thanks.
they had data scientists in those days itself. Yeah.
Thanks, Khalid and Mujahid. Feel free to add.
Yeah, I mean, it actually goes hand in hand with the digital transformation journey. If you see any platform, it has all those capabilities. The capabilities, diagnose, you describe, and then you predict, and then you prescribe. All these four capabilities, they are almost available in any new, latest or updated state-of-art platform, which are available and sold by either Oracle or by Finacle, Infosys, or by Azensio. All these platforms, they have these capabilities. But if you want to build something bigger, that is different. I mean, whereby you can collaborate all the other systems and solutions by having an appropriate data
so
warehousing
platforms are
solution.
available, and it's not being adopted right now from a need perspective, but it has a great opportunity. Sorry, the last question. We are out of time. Yeah.
FinTech collaboration, which is easier to adopt and which according to you will deliver the ROI quickly or better?
Again, I would say it is not, they all go together. Now you go and see any digital initiative, you will need a FinTech company to collaborate with you and to implement the solution. I would take the example of our digital onboarding example. We collaborated with small FinTech companies who can give you the SDKs, your mobile app, and then you roll it out in the market. So they all go hand to hand together.
Excellent. Thank you so much, the panelists.